Hey guys, a little quiet night here on Periscope. Hopped on a couple times and not getting my regulars. This is not a regular time for me, so that's understandable. But a little bit of a rant tonight. I don't really want to go talk about politics, but a lot of discussion in the media about health and health insurance and things like that. And it kind of drives me crazy because most of the health care in this country is being spent on things that you can take care of yourself, how you eat, and how you move your body. So a large percentage of the healthcare dollars are going towards things that you can just do on your own, or you can do with a coach. What happens when we don't eat properly and we don't move our bodies, if we don't exercise, we end up getting chronic health problems that you're either going to get medication for, or a surgery, or anything along that line. There are so many side effects from the medications and so many repercussions and side effects from surgery. I mean, if you have a surgery for anything, whether it's a disease or an injury, you're never going to be 100% again. Your body's going to constantly be trying to heal itself, kind of knit itself back together after the surgery. So we want to avoid surgeries. We want to avoid medication. If you've got yourself into a real deep hole, chronic health-wise, maybe then it would be appropriate to look at some kind of a medication. I really don't think surgery is ever called for because of the other side effects, for bariatric bypass surgeries and things like that. There's a lot of horrible side effects related with that. So there's so many other options that we can do in terms of how we eat and how we move our bodies. But if you actually look at the statistics right now, the chronic health care is a huge percentage of the money that's spent in this country. And then if you look at just prescription medication, the United States accounts for 5% of the world's population, and yet we consume 75 to 80% of the prescription medication on the planet. That's pretty scary shit. How come the rest of the world can get away with not taking prescription medicine, and we're still sick as shit taking this stuff? So that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about tonight, is just, in terms of health insurance, your best health insurance is to eat and train like you give a fuck. It's simple, it doesn't cost you anything, and in the long term, it's better for you. Plus all the benefits you get out of it, you're not going to get the same thing from a doctor. You're just not. But if you look statistically, your chances of developing, a cancer or some kind of awful infection or being in a traumatic accident are pretty fucking slim. Your chances of becoming overweight or diabetic or getting some metabolic disease, some cancers based on a metabolic issue, are skyrocketing. And it's just how we eat and how we move our bodies or don't move our bodies. So that's pretty much what I want to get on here and talk about, is you really need to eat like you give a fuck. You need to train like you give a fuck. Everything you put in your mouth, you should think, is this helping me? Because I tell you right now, there's not a fucking ice cream cone on the planet that tastes as good as I feel when I can take off my clothes in front of my wife and not be embarrassed. There's not a fucking alcoholic beverage on the planet that's as exciting as being able to take my clothes off in front of my wife and not be embarrassed. It's fucking exciting, man. There's not a beverage on the planet that can do that for me. There's not a fucking ice cream cone on the planet that can do that for me. There's not a fucking meal on the planet that can do that for me. Being able to take off my clothes at 43 years old and not be embarrassed in front of my wife, that's pretty cool. And I'm not getting it from a doctor. I'm not getting it from a healthcare plan. I'm not getting it from Obamacare. I'm not talking politics here. I really don't give a fuck about politics. I think we need to do something. So I'm not disrespecting the politicians right now, although you will probably hear me in the future. But there's really nothing out there other than eating like I give a fuck and training like I give a fuck that gets me where I want to be. So yeah, if I sit down to eat something, I'm thinking, is this going to help me get better, or is this going to make me worse? If I'm looking at an exercise, I'm looking at it in terms of, is this bringing me closer to my goals of being stronger, faster, more explosive, more athletic, or is it just a time waster? And so the exercises that I use and that I coach my athletes with are exercises that I know will make you more athletic, will make you leaner, will make you more explosive, will make you stronger. I'm not going to spin my wheels on a treadmill. I'm just not. You're not going to find me doing that. You'll find me sprinting. I'm not going to get on a fucking bicycle for days and days and days. I'm just not. Because that's going to take away from what I've built up. And I know plenty of competitive athletes, distance athletes, that suffer chronic pain. Well, guess what? I used to suffer from that shit, and I got stronger. I don't hurt anymore. So, you got to think about what your goals are in life and go after it like your life depends on it. Because guess what? It fucking does. That's basically all I wanted to get on here and talk about tonight. So hopefully you catch this in the replay. We'll talk about this again some other night, but I just want to get on here and just stay consistent with you guys. I know there's a lot of stuff going on a Saturday night in July. So hopefully you get to catch this in the replay. I'll post it in the Facebook. My battery's dying, so I better hop off. But the big takeaway tonight is eat and train like you give a fuck. Because there's no meal on the planet that feels as good as being able to take off your clothes in front of your loved one and not be embarrassed. There really isn't. All right? So, hopefully you're having fun. Hopefully you pick this up in the replay. I'll talk about this again some other time. And I actually want to do a little science fiction themed rant. Hopefully you guys have seen the movie Blade Runner. So I'm trying to think of a good synopsis for those of you who've never seen Blade Runner. Going to go on a little rant and frame it in terms of Blade Runner. It's kind of cool. So I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.